Welcome to the Past Life Project. I'm Monique, hypnotherapist and regression specialist. Let me bring you into my world where just another day in the office is not your typical desk job. In each episode, we will be delving into the extraordinary realm of past lives through my own therapy practice, client stories and interviews, and conversations with practitioners that are utilizing past lives as a powerful modality for healing. Tune in to find out how people just like you are healing from a range of physical, emotional, and spiritual issues by exploring their previous incarnations. Are you ready to dive into the future of therapy? It's time to turn back time with the Past Life Project. Welcome to the Past Life Project podcast. I'm your host, Monique, hypnotherapist and regression therapy specialist. And today on the podcast, my guest is Selke, who is an incarnated star being on the Earth star, who chose to remember a lot about her galactic origins. She is deeply connected to all living beings, may they be animals, plants, humans, or light beings, and co-creates with them on a peer-to-peer level. The awareness that she is a star being, and in some fields has therefore different needs, changed her life profoundly and brought a deep relief into her life on the Earth star. It is her wish to co-create in programs and coachings with her clients to reestablish the happiness, joy, and lightness in their life by regaining awareness on their other incarnations in a way that is unique to them and fulfills them on all levels. Welcome, Selke. I'm so excited to have you here today.
Thank you, Monique. I'm also very excited to have the opportunity to speak here.
Yes. I feel like we've already been speaking and we could talk for a very long time and have a lot of things to cover today. So tell me, how did all of this happen? I'm curious to hear. Yeah, the origin story of how did all of this come to your awareness? Was it something that has always been there since a young child, or was this later on in life?
The awareness that I'm somehow different, I think, has always been there. But then, everybody around you acts as if you are a normal earthly person. So you try to adjust, of course. As a child, you do anyway. As a youth, probably also. And I have to say, the one thing that always stood out for me was I am far better in communicating to animals and plants than to humans. I have always feel drawn to animals particularly. And I was living in a family where that wasn't possible. So I had to wait until I was, I think, 35 or so, until the first animal really entered into my life. And that changed quite a thing, I have to say. So I've been living together with animals of various kinds since 30 years or so now. And that was the first thing where I really thought I'm different. And then because I felt different, I started to look into the spiritual path to see if there were answers to my feeling different. And I started being a trained animal therapist in Germany. So, but then also came into other, let's say, spiritual and energy work. And fast forward about 15 years or so in that energy work, I started to have a particular recurring experience in my meditations. And it was very interesting because it was a super dark plane. It was night, a lot of stars above me, a dark, empty plane, a few animals running around, but very much in the distance. And I sat there and nothing was there and nothing happened. And I felt totally at home. Totally. And the first two times I had that, I thought it was coincidence, let's say like that. But the third time it was like, something is knocking on your door. So I asked a friend of mine with whom I was working at that time from the United States on animals and animal energy work. And she was like, but that sounds like you are a starseed and you remember your home star. And so she routed me to Eva, and that was when I inquired and said, okay, what might this mean? And that started my journey of being more conscious about my galactic origin. And so, yes, that was not really my home star, but it was one of the first stars that I entered when I came into this galaxy. And I still have this experience quite often. And it's super nice because now I can lay down. There's nothing weird about it anymore. I can just lay down and say, well, here, I am here to reset, and I can really, yeah, rejuvenate on that in that space. That's how I came to be very aware of my galactic origin.
Isn't it funny how I don't know, your tolerance for weird seems to expand as you go along the journey? At first, you're like, that's so weird. And now the new things pop into your orbit and like, oh, I can't believe that was even weird. That's just so everyday for me, right?
Yeah, that's true. Because weird is actually a judgment of the Earth star. And the more you are aware of that this is probably tied to the place that where your incarnation at the moment is, the easier it is to let go.
Yeah, when you let that go, it's just all of a sudden, all of these possibilities open up when you let go all of that.
Yes. Infinite possibilities. Yes.
Yeah, which is where all the magic and the fun is, isn't it?
Yes.
I'm curious, how did you integrate that knowledge into your life going forward after you started going down this route of thinking, oh, I am a star seed. How did that change in your life?
That changed my life in a way because I understood that because I am from somewhere else, I maybe have different needs. And I really wanted to go back to the energies of my home star to understand what kind of energy is there. What is it that I was exposed to at the first stage, let's say it like that, and what feels home to me, and there are in my programs, I also go back with my clients to their home star. And it's not so much about the name of the home star or the location of the home star. It's more the energy of the home star. How is it? Are there only a few beings? Are there many beings around? What kind of energy is it? Is it crystalline energy? Is it a more flowing energy? What is prevalent? What kind of light is prevalent on that home star? And then you discover, if you go back, you discover that you feel drawn to certain things or certain situations that you also want to create on the Earth star because it feels so much at home. Just to give you an example, for me, it's this thing, my home star is very empty. So I get stressed out pretty quickly from large crowds. Large crowds of humans is the worst thing you could put me into. It really stresses me out. But I found myself kind of unsocial because of that, like having a social disability. But then I understood, no, this is just my galactic origin coming through and telling me you don't need many beings around you. That's all. There is no judgment on it. It is not good or bad or right or wrong. It's just different. And that, for instance, is something that I needed to recreate here on the Earth star for me. I need my faces when I'm totally alone. I don't want to see anybody else. It is really, really important for me. And now I do not feel bad about it anymore. So it makes me feel more relaxed to create little things that have a galactic origin for me here on the Earth star. So my environment here on the Earth star gets more and more conducive for me.
It's really about learning more about yourself via your previous incarnations. It's almost like each one gives you a little puzzle piece to who you are now and makes it make sense in a way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting because there's so much work that you can do in previous incarnations, and a lot of it, I mean, a lot of the work that I do concentrates in trauma, but not always. I love talking to people about how it's not only about the trauma in these incarnations. It's understanding, it's pulling all of these really great abilities that we have and bringing those through and utilizing them as our superpowers. There's so much that can be done in this field. It's not only, well, I had this horrible stuff that happened and that explains, why I have this fear now. It can be, but like you said, you transform this around that it doesn't have to be something that controls you. It's just an understanding that your needs are different and that's okay.
And yeah, that's okay. And everybody seems to have totally different needs. And sometimes it's really like you understand at that moment why you are behaving here on the Earth star in the way that you are behaving. Just to give you an example, I have a client who always makes herself small here on the Earth star with everything, And when she went back to her home star, it was like, oh, I'm not a star, I'm a galaxy. So being a galaxy and then coming to the Earth star, what do? You have to make yourself small.
Quite literally.
Quite literally. So you fit into this incarnated body and into this incarnation. And once she understood that she had taken that and distributed it throughout her whole earthly life, she was really able to say, okay, I had to make myself small, but being now on the Earth star in my body, I don't have to make me small anymore, So that was really an interesting thing, So that sometimes you need this understanding. Your mind needs a little bit of understanding to change things on the Earth star. And sometimes it's just like that your awareness can go back and forth, and then you can adjust or not adjust, because there are also things on your home star that you probably are not important enough for you to mirror them here on the Earth star. So you can say, well, that's a negotiable for me. It would be nice if I had it, but I don't really need it. But there are other things where you say, yeah, regardless if I myself say I need it or not, I can see in my life on the Earth star, I display it again and again and again. So it seems that I really need it. And that's a non-negotiable for me to have,
That's interesting. Could you imagine too, if you brought everything in from every incarnation, how overwhelming that would be to remember all of that all at once? You wouldn't even be able to focus while you were here with everything coming into your awareness all at once.
Yeah.
I love that as an example of once she realized where that was coming from, all of a sudden it just, I don't know, gives you your power back. And oh, okay, now I know what is happening. So I choose to not apply that to every aspect of my life.
Yeah, and that's especially significant. What you say is this: I choose to, because it gives you back the freedom to choose.
Instead of being an automatic response or kind of program running in the background.
Yeah. Or instead also doing like the Romans do, because you are missing the reference point. You don't have your own reference point. So you do it like your environment does it on the Earth star, without thinking a lot about it.
And when you're working with clients, either one-on-one or through your coaching program, is it typically they're off Earth incarnations that they go to? Are there different kind of human Earth incarnations that are sometimes part of kind of involved in what they're doing?
And both is possible, actually. I always love in my programs to at some point bring them back to really their home star, because what is there makes a lot of sense when you look into the other incarnations. Of course, sometimes we also land in another human incarnation on the Earth star, of course. And so most of us have been here pretty often. And if you look at those incarnations, because as you said previously, this looking back and always having this pressure that you need to rectify something in another incarnation or from another incarnation. If you look back at several incarnations, you actually sometimes see that there is always the same talent that you displayed in all the incarnations, or that you ran into the same problem in all the incarnations. And that I also feel, gives you another power to see the rules behind it, and to understand that you still have the power to choose differently, even though there seem to be rules. But if you see them and are aware of them, you can still choose to do it differently.
Instead of it just running on autopilot or more and more incarnations over and over. I tell clients often that, well, you can choose to be aware of it and kind of deal with it now, or it can just be on, repeat over and over and over and over again for who knows how many more incarnations. And, most people at that point, like, no, I'm okay. I don't want to keep doing this over. I get the message now.
Yeah. Yeah, but I think if the message is also not you experience it again and again and again because you're so weak or you're so not smart enough to learn, but also to experience again and again to see it in different facets.
Yes.
That also helps.
That is very interesting because, like you said, it has nothing to do with lack of strength.
No.
Honestly, it's the people that can often be the most stubborn and determined to want to do all of the things all at once. And they have all of these different things that they bring with them. So I like that shift in perspective, that all of a sudden you're switching from kind of being the victim and that I'm weak or I can't do it or I'm not getting the message or I'm not smart enough to, well, maybe there's different facets that you want to look at it each time.
Yeah. And maybe your soul explicitly choose to look at different facets before the awareness sinks in.
Mm-hmm. And now you are the expert in
yes,
this thing. And I find once you get to that point, often so many are called to help others in whatever way. I know we talked about it doesn't always have to be in a business way, but all of a sudden it's like when you become that expert in the thing that you spend lifetimes mastering, it's like, okay, well, now it's your turn to help others. That all of a sudden the universe starts bringing people in your orbit and they tell your story that you might have just kind of finished that path a couple months ago and you have this wisdom to share with them. It's really, really interesting how interweaved we all are in each other's journey without knowing it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the clearer the message is that you send out, the more people find you, the less huzz and fuss around it is, the more you come to the essence of what your talent is, the more people find you.
And have you found that in your work, that as you become more clear on that, does it just come easier versus having to kind of push for people to find you? Do you find they just land?
Yeah, I think you can, the one thing that you can consciously choose is also that you don't have to run after the people, but they can find you. Actually, you're free to send out, to be a lighthouse, to send out your light and let others see it, and do not push it into them. That's one of the things. Yeah, and I also think if you are very clear on what your talents are and what you can do, you can also send a clear message of what you will do, what you won't do, what you are happy doing, what you have joy in, and that is also a frequency that transfers to others. This frequency of joy, of having fun, of being happy.
Isn't that an important thing, that just because you can do it doesn't mean that you have to do it?
Yes.
Or just in business, just because you can do your accounting doesn't mean that that's where your joy is and that's where you want to spend your energy. It's kind of interesting when you talk about it as this universal thing that you can put out there, that this is who and what and the areas that I want to focus in. And yeah, that maybe I do have talents in other things, but I really want to do this.
Yeah, and also sometimes it is that these talents, I think we are used to think that talents are pretty specific and very detailed. But the more I work with it and the more of the galactic part you see when you look at yourself, you rather find that talents are have a very structured essence. And that essence is pretty simple. And it is so simple because it allows you to express them differently in all your incarnations. So for instance, one of my big talents is taking in a lot of information, digesting it and transforming it and spitting it out in a way that others can relate to it. But can you imagine in how many million ways I can express that in different incarnations? Yeah. So that is so nice. It doesn't have to be something very specific that you do very specific things with it. I don't have to be a teacher with that talent. I don't have to be a healer with that talent. I can be in product marketing like I am in my corporate life. And still, I take in a lot of information, transform it, and put it in something that people can take in my corporate job and also in my spiritual job.
Kind of takes the pressure off you having to find the one right, perfect thing, that you can have choice in how you apply yourself.
Yes. And also that you have to take 100 things with them that automatically are tied to your talent. So you want to live your talent and then you have to cope with all the other stuff too, unfortunately. No, that's not the case. You can strip away everything that is not fun and live your talent still while you are here.
And I like also how you talk about having a corporate job and a spiritual business, and that you can do both at once, because I think it's a pretty common misconception in the kind of spiritual business arena that if you become aware of anything spiritual, then all of a sudden you need to throw away your whole life, right? And you need to start a business and you need to, dress a certain way and do your hair a certain way. You need to look a certain way. And that, like, you are not allowed to have a quote unquote normal human corporate job anymore. So I find that really interesting that you talk about that balance.
Yeah, and I think that misperceptions pretty much in my awareness comes from the fact that spirituality is then rated higher than a corporate job, and why should this be so? Because my talents, I can display them in both spheres. So why should one be better than the other? It's just different. from the other. It's just a different way of expressing what I'm good at. And even in a corporate job, I would say it helps you because it strips away all these perceptions about how hard you have to work and you have to earn things and all this kind of stuff. Because it's just, no, I have as much fun displaying my talents in this sphere than I have in the other sphere.
Yeah. And that not everyone has a desire to be an entrepreneur or to be in the corporate world, and that you are allowed to follow what you want and not this pressure of, well, now I need to open up this spiritual business, even though I have no desire to be an entrepreneur at all.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, honestly, most people try to take this decision when they are not 100% clear how their talents are going to display. It's pretty early in a phase, and you give it so much importance to make this decision and to do it right. And then we're back with right and wrong, but still you don't really know. Even if you say, yes, I'm going to follow that spiritual path too, you're not exactly sure how it's going to display in your life. And if you have so much importance on it, it puts you under such a pressure that you will probably not explore in which way this is going to show up at its best.
It's not fun anymore, is it? You try with the fun and the joy, and I think, oh, well, that sucks all the joy out of it, and the fun and the play and experimenting and everything.
Yeah.
Well, especially when you have those very human financial needs that are pressuring you, there's no fun to be had when you're exploring it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I also think that you very often then come into this track that you think that your spiritual business has to be a kind of digital twin to corporate business, and that you have to do all the things you do in corporate also to have them in your spiritual track. And that is pretty hard, because sometimes it's not necessary at all, but you don't give that a chance. You just follow a certain path then, or a certain structure, and never ask yourself if this structure really aligns with your spiritual business or the spiritual work that you want to do. And that's a pity, because it puts such a heavy pressure on it already.
It does. And it's very interesting talking to you from a marketing perspective, because I have a background in marketing myself. And I remember when I realized that, like you said, you can bring this energy towards you of what you want and who you'd like to work with. It went against everything that I was taught in traditional marketing. And like, well, that can't work, right? I need to do this, and I have to have a plan. I can't just sit here and meditate and people are just going to come towards me, but they can, and they do. And you're sitting here thinking, like you said, you don't need to apply everything that works in the corporate world into your small business as well, that there is that room for that play. So I'm curious, have you found that working in both worlds, with a foot in both doors, that what you do kind of in the corporate world versus your spiritual business differs?
It differs, absolutely. It differs because in the corporate world, I don't make all the rules. There are certain things I have to do in my job role. It's my job role, But in my spiritual business, I want to express myself. And just to give a very hands-on example, if I do not like writing endless newsletters, longer and longer and longer, for people to be bored to read them, I just don't do it. If I have a monthly newsletter, I try to put in something that really moves me at that time. And I don't write that newsletter because I want people to sign up something. I just want to share my energy, what moves my energy at the moment. That's one thing. And the other thing is also social media. You probably know how it is with strict social media plans. But what if you are tired on posting in your spiritual business? You just don't post. That's this realization that you can do it your way, and still the people who want to find you will find you. That is a huge relief, I find.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. That there's so many coaches that will, scream from the rooftops that, like you said, you need a newsletter and you need all your social media and you need a funnel into your program. And it feels so forced. And then you sit back and then you do none of them. And more people come to you than ever before when you were pushing with your call to action, like you said, trying to sell something. And you sit here thinking, wow, this is a lot, simpler and more fun. And then the people who are actually aligned and that we need to connect and there is some mutual benefit from it, that we just end up finding each other naturally, that it's not any way that it was pushed or coerced or trying to, sell them on a deadline that you need to register now because the door is closed, and that isn't what they really truly wanted and they felt pushed to do it. That it just, I don't know, all the pressure comes off. And there's a trust, I feel too, that there's this trust with the greater universe that things will be provided for you.
Yeah, and in the end, we are all multidimensional. So you send out your message in very many dimensions, and it doesn't have to be the dimension of a social media post. You send it out in lots and lots and lots of ways. And this is what I really love, is because the beings on the other side who receive this brilliance that you radiate, they receive it in a way that it's easy for them. You don't force a newsletter upon them. They don't have to. What with all the people who don't like to read? Yeah. So you send it out into many dimensions, in many ways, that everyone can grab it in a way that is appropriate for him or her.
It's interesting when you try to follow that trail of how does that even work? Sometimes I think my human mind, it's hard for it to comprehend that you send it out like that and then someone just stumbles upon, they, from whatever, a friend tells them this or that, or from a book or a podcast, that your voice was out there and it was a knowing, just hearing the audio in that way. And you think, wow, maybe I don't need to actually know all the mechanics about how that happens. And my goal is just to focus on the intention. But I find it can be really mind-boggling when you try to focus like that on various dimensions of how you're putting it out there. And it's not as concrete as, well, here is my business plan and my marketing plan, and I'm going to put it here, 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 and here.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
I think these structured tracks, they are very tied to the Earth Star, actually, because on the Earth Star, everything is so structured and materialized. And of course, you have to materialize ways of communicating. But if you let go of that and say there are millions of possibilities that people find me, hear me, see me, listen to me, whatever, you read me or whatever. That opens up again, and we come back to that again. And I love it, more infinite possibilities.
Mm-hmm. And when they find you, you're in your element of joy, not because they found a post that you didn't want to do because you just did it because someone told you you had to, and you have nothing that you actually really want to say. They find you in those moments where you're actually enjoying yourself and you're having fun. Or like you said, you were inspired to write something in a newsletter, not because, it's the 5th of the month and this is when my newsletter comes out. And so you better find something you need to say.
Yeah. And one of the things also with the newsletters is this, I don't want to start my newsletter with 5 statements where people feel hooked, I don't know what hooks people. And I honestly don't care. The ones who want to come to me will come to me. Who am I to minimize these infinite possibilities, how people can connect with you by pre-thinking for them what they might read would probably make sense to them. That's something I don't get. That is one of these things where I exactly know where it is on the Earth star, but me as a star being, I don't get why. I don't understand why people do this.
Yeah, it's interesting to think why it even happened that way, other than you were talking about that there's just inherently more structure, and maybe that is a method that people have just learned over the years to understand. But it really feels like it's changing now. It feels like there's more people, and I don't know if you've seen your work too, especially a lot of young people that are coming in that are teenagers now in early 20s, and it's like they're throwing all of that structure out of the window and doing some really amazing things.
And that's good. I think that's really good for our planet, that they do that.
To uproot that a little bit. It's almost like we've needed that like spring cleaning.
Yes, definitely. It makes the Earth star lighter as a planet, I think. And we all want to be lighter. So why shouldn't our planet be lighter,
Yes. You were talking about earlier, Selke, about bringing people back to their home star. And I'm curious, how do they know that it is their home star versus somewhere that they've lived a lot frequently in other incarnations? Is there a different feeling that they get? Is it just a knowing that, oh, this feels like home? Is it do you equate the home star with their original origin point?
Yes. I think that's the original origin point. And, I have only my experience to talk from, but what I hear from my clients, it seems to be that everybody really knows when he enters or she enters the sphere, or this energetic sphere of the home star, because it is totally home. It is so light, and there's nothing you think about, and it's totally simple very often. Also, people tell me, "It's so simple on my home star. There's no big things to do." It's like, oh, I'm feeling totally at home, totally at ease, in stillness, in peace. That are some good indicators for that you're finally approaching your home star. If you go to a planet where you have often incarnated because it somehow draws you, let's say in this galaxy, it is like it. You come there and you know it, but it's not necessarily that you think, oh, I'm feeling so at home.
Yeah.
That's the difference.
That's familiar, but not that home feeling.
Yeah. It's just, you know it, and you know how to behave, and you also know the energies there. You know that you have experienced them before, but the other thing is like, ooh, I can totally relax. There is nothing I have to rub myself against on my home star. It's all like, I was born with it. Let's say it like that.
Yes. Actually, it reminds me of birth and being in the womb, where it's just, you just simply get to be in this environment, and there's just this calm and peace and ease. And like you said, nothing that you have to do, or you don't have to busy your mind and think of this and that, and no societal constraints on you. It's just almost like a deep breath.
And you also, I think you feel very close to source, actually, and source communion, totally letting go of everything is nothing that scares you anymore, because you will never lose yourself in that, because you could see source as the creator, and the creator created you. So why should the wish of the creator be that you lose yourself? So there's nothing to lose. You will always be yourself, even if you commune with other things.
Yeah, it's interesting. It really it makes me think of a human lifetime and how as an infant you are so close to your mother in that way. And then as you grow up, it's not that that person doesn't have that place in your life, but you become more aware of the world around you and your influence of friends and peers. It's almost like this, you're born and this home star, and then you kind of go off and you have these little adventures and all these other lifetimes, but it's still a part of you, just like that baby. Their mother is still always a part of them, that DNA is still part of them no matter where they go.
And this is actually one of the things that people experience in my programs is this, rather than having a procedure to go back to your home star, it gets more and more normal that with the blink of an eye, you are also aware of your home star. You don't have to follow a long procedure, sitting down, doing a meditation. Of course, we do that in the beginning so that people go on a path and really feel like, yeah, they are going back and they are going somewhere else. You can see it as a timeline or not if you want to. But then after a while, my clients tell me like, yeah, I'm just thinking of my home star and I can feel it.
And that you're there at the same time, that you're also here.
You're there. You're always there. You were never away, actually. Yeah.
I think that's a common thing that comes up for star seeds, is this missing of home and longing for home and not wanting to be here on earth anymore and wanting to be home. And it's just amazing how you bring this onto perspective of that you were never, this separation is such a kind of human constraint, that you were never separated in the first place. You don't need to physically be there. You're here and there and everywhere, even though you are physically here still. But you have this idea of, oh, I want to go like into a spaceship and I want to fly away. Or so many talk about looking at the stars. Right.
And if it helps you to do the first travel in that way, that's absolutely fine. I also walk through stargates with my groups. So if it makes it easier for them to enter an energetic gate and go to another galaxy, all good, all good. I don't care about the way. I just care about the point where they remember that everything was always there.
But it doesn't mean having to leave this life in
No,
order
not at
to
all.
go back there. Well, just like we were talking about the court, it doesn't mean having to leave your corporate job if that's what you love in order to go to a spiritual business. And it's, parallel to that. If you don't have to leave this life that you love here just because you miss your home star, you can actually connect and do both at once.
Yes, absolutely.
Is amazing. It's like, oh wow, that's amazing that you can do all those things all at once.
Yeah, and it's so easy. It's also amazing that it's so easy, because that is totally contrary to being enlightened and have a large path to a long path to enlightenment, and what you have to do to get there. In the end, you just understand that because you are multidimensional, you can put your awareness multidimensionally to wherever you want to, be it your home star, be it the Earth star, be it Sirius, Orion, or whatever.
And I've often wondered, when we talk about previous incarnations or past lives or future lives or parallel lives, if we really are talking about the same thing, and that there is no linear time, it's what our mind understands. And maybe it's easier to understand this life happened before this one, but did it really happen before this one, or is everything happening simultaneously? And that's just the way that our human brain can understand all of these concepts.
I think because this life here on the Earth star, this incarnation comes to an end, we automatically assume that this is the same in every other incarnation. So that's, again, taking a structure into the infinite, where there is no structure needed.
Do you work with many humans here now that are new to Earth altogether? I remember you talked about many starseeds have been to Earth many times. Do you work with many that Earth is just a new thing altogether, a very new home?
Yes. 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 Going back to that client who is a galaxy originally on the Earth star for the first time. So it's really a bit woo woo, Yeah. So there are also some who are new to the Earth star, who have been on other trips, on other stars and other planets, but not necessarily on the Earth star. Yeah.
I'm curious, do they talk about what draws them to here, why they decided at this time to come here?
Yeah, that is something that actually most of us have a little bit work to put into, because it feels like with this incarnation, with going into this incarnated body, there seems to be a little bit of forgetting. And also what draws them to the Earth star is often, it's really interesting because it gets back to this: I have a task or a duty here on the Earth star, and now I desperately need to find it, and I need to live it, and I need to act to it. And the first question I ask folks normally is, do you think that the Earth star called you, or the inhabitants of the Earth star called you? And if the inhabitants, which group of the inhabitants? The animals, the plants, the humans, the oceans, the mountains, the cities. And then people start to understand that some of them contribute all the time, but not acting as a healer or a teacher. Still, they contribute all the time. And they get pretty relaxed once they sense this, because it's not like, oh, I need to find my task, Oh no, I'm executing on my task all the time already. Wow, this is great, That is also a sense of relief. And it is often something totally different from what people expect, because we all expect to be a healer or a teacher, but that's not the only thing that a planet or the beings on a planet have asked for.
No, could you imagine if everyone was to be a healer or a teacher? We'd be over flooded and missing so many important things. Yes.
Would be quite a bit strenuous, I think. And also, this gravity on the Earth star. So many people are here, beings are here just to bring lightness in very many different ways. And they do all the time. But they think because it is just lightness, it is not valuable.
Is it interesting that you're placing a scale of importance on it, that it's just, well, I can't just bring joy. I need to be like doing or making or creating something, like leaving this legacy. You need to actually do something other than just being you enough. Yeah. Certainly takes the pressure off of you, doesn't it? When you realize that you being you is enough as it is, and there's not some big thing that you have to figure out that is the thing.
Yeah, that's the thing, And then if you do that, if you're aware of that, then you really get aware of what you contribute to this planet, or to the people around you, or to your clients, or to your fellow co-workers, or whatever it is, to animal rescue or whatever, and then it becomes pretty easy, because honestly, you're not stupid as a light being. I mean, now you're not stupid. You knew already why you are here. And you are doing it. It's just that probably the expectation of an incarnated earthly being tells you are not quite aware,
Yeah, the conscious mind is funny, bad, isn't it? Like, it needs to know all of the things, even if you said you already know, and it doesn't have to be brought to the forefront. And if you think about it, that could possibly taint your experience of what you're doing so naturally if you need to focus on it as a job. It's almost like doing something out of love and excitement and joy. And then my children, it's funny, they come in a household of, entrepreneur family, and all of a sudden they want to turn everything. Well, I love crocheting, so now I'm going to turn this into a business, or I'm going to make, these stickers, and oh, it was so much fun, so now I'm going to turn it into a business. And I have to slow down and remind them sometimes, well, once you turn it into a business, then you don't get to just be so spontaneous anymore. Now you need to produce, and now, 10, 20 people want the same thing, and you're recreating it over and over again. And then it's not as joyous. And I feel in that way, it's almost like if you had this purpose brought to your awareness, then maybe it sucks the fun out of just the adventure of being a human and not knowing.
Yeah, and also the creativity, it sucks the creativity out because it's just reproducing. It's not creativity.
Yes. So maybe like you said, we are smart enough that we hid that part from ourselves so we wouldn't go in and start analyzing and start reproducing and sucking the creativity out of everything. Maybe that was the point.
Maybe that was the point, but then we chose to enter into a culture and into a space where everything is rated, and that is also rated.
And there's that pressure to have to rate yourself or label yourself and kind of, I don't know, make yourself fit in with something.
Yeah, and if you think about all the thoughts that are prevalent about creativity and making a living on the earth, so that's huge.
Oh, absolutely. All those things you got told as a child, that there's certain occupations that are great, but no, you can't be an artist. You have to be a teacher and make a, stable income. You can't just be an artist and live in your parents' basement for the rest of your life, right? Yeah.
Still, we admire all the big artists who have been very poor, that's it.
Yeah, it's interesting when you dissect things from that perspective. It lets you kind of take a step back from all of these different things about being on Earth, because we are part of it too, and just makes you wonder, and children are great for that, right? Questioning, well, why is it like that? And then adults get all, fumbled, like, what do you mean? I don't know, it just is. Stop asking so many questions. But they can inherently see like holes, and this doesn't make sense. Why are you doing it this way? Well, because that's the way it's been done for generations.
Yeah. And sometimes it's really interesting to ask them, well, how would you do it? And then see what they come up with,
Yes. Most of the time it's pretty brilliant, isn't it?
Most of the time it is pretty brilliant.
And or more fun and joy.
Yeah. And it definitely opens up more possibilities. That's for sure.
So Selke, you had talked about when you kind of went down this path and discovered that you were a star seed and that you had different needs, how it helped you in your life now. Do you find that the people that you work with, do they have common needs to what you've described? Do you find that star seeds, that depending on the person, will have different needs, or is there a group of needs that seems applicable to the majority of star seeds?
No, I wouldn't say so. I think it depends a bit how your home star is, actually. I think that the entrance point to wanting to have more awareness on your galactic part, there are some similarities. It is, like I said, very many of these people get along better with animals than with humans, or they don't feel like they belong. They feel some things that feel that they are really strange because they cannot do some things like they are done on the Earth Star. Sometimes they really don't get what people on the Earth Star are talking about. Really, like, okay.
It doesn't make sense at all.
Very strange, but okay. I think this is pretty much what ignites the search. But then, once you get back to your homes, there are very individual tracks that you follow. And it is about your individual conducive environment that you build up. It's unique, I would say, for everyone. And that's the fun of it, because you do not have to relate to anybody with it. You do not have to compare yourself with anybody in it. It is totally unique to yourself. And the more you live this uniqueness, the better you are.
And wouldn't that be a very human thing to all of a sudden now slap a label on, well, you're a starseed, so these are your needs, and this is what you have to do, and you need to fit inside this little box, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, we open up the drawer labeled Orion and then put in all the people who have something to do with Orion. I don't think that this wouldn't be an expression of the infinite possibilities for once, and therefore I think it would be too small.
Well, if you even think about all the humans on Earth, could you imagine? Well, you were a human on Earth in a previous incarnation, so all the humans need to fit into one jar. They all think the same, they look the same, they believe the same thing. So when you're talking about star systems, well, why do we put that same approach? Like your example with Orion, why does everyone from Orion need to think the same way and look the same way? And they're incarnated with blue eyes, and that's your sign, right?
Yeah.
It's very interesting. It really helps to kind of dissect what is kind of a human way of thinking versus what is the truth to you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, on the one hand, everybody on Earth wants to be an individual. Individuality is rated so high. But then, if people are acting individually, they should better comply with rules and regulations. You
want to be an individual, but not too individual.
You're not too individual.
Still part of the group.
Yeah. And this being, individual is one thing, but I think this being unique in a sense, but also part of a group, whatever beings there are on your home star or whatever energies there are, this is a good balance. There is your uniqueness, which is a facet of the source of all is one facet, but then there is all is one. And that's there too, and it can be both. And we're back again to it can be both.
Yes, it can be both. Because could you imagine if you were all so unique in your ways that you couldn't actually communicate or work with each other or have any sort of, group community environment? You have to have some common ground on which to band together as a community. Yeah. It's a beautiful thing to think of, that you're allowed to be both, that it's almost this permission that you can be both. It doesn't have to be one or the other. The pendulum doesn't have to swing drastically one way, that you can find your own way. And maybe that way changes day to day or week to week too, that you are allowed to change.
Definitely. You're going with the flow,
It seems a lot easier when you just go with the flow versus fighting and labeling and determining where it has to be at every turn.
Yeah. And I think that goes back to this trust and this knowing that all is one, and that you are source and there is source and you are loved, and then you are free to be as individually as you want to. Still, you're connected to everything.
Do you find that when your clients find their home star with you, that gives them that anchor point?
Yes, totally. It gives them this anchor point, and it also gives them this awareness of how they express source and the all is one, about the facet that they are actually, and about the brilliance of that facet, and how they can polish it and let it shine throughout the multiverse, actually. That is, I think that empowers people so much.
Beautiful, beautiful thing. Was there anything else that you wanted to touch on, Selke, that we didn't have time to chat about?
Oh, I think that was a good way around everything.
Yeah, it's good full circle. I always love when that happens, that you start somewhere and then we go off and then it comes back to that starting point. Well, there you go. Trusting the process, right? That we're going to go on this journey and we're going to come back full circle in a beautiful way. Thank you, my dear. Thank you so much for being here with me. I will include all of your contact information and information about Selke's program and working with her in the show notes. So if you want to get in touch with her, that will all be there.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. We will see you next time. Thank you for tuning in to this episode of the Past Life Project. For more information how I can help you to access the wisdom of your subconscious mind to support deep healing and transformation, visit my website at moniqueglover.com. If you loved what you just listened to, please subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Until next time.